Alrighty, I believe we are all the way live. So, hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live and living color here with you on YouTube. How we all doing, everybody? It's another voluptuous Friday, and that means it's show day. It's show time. I'm gonna be talking all things horror. And fun fact about this episode: this is not a milestone episode, but is going to be the Bubble Boy milestone episode, if you will, because next week's episode is going to be episode number 50 of Grande's Graveyard here on YouTube. I did have a couple of the shows that unfortunately, for one reason or another, I can't transfer over to YouTube, whether it be audio problems, audio bugs, stuff like that. Like I did a show on the Grindhouse movies, like the Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez Grindhouse double feature. I did a show on that I can't transfer over. I did a show on the original Nightmare on Elm Street with me and Brandon. We talked about an hour. I've had a problems getting that one over. So there's been over 50, but this is only going to be the most official next week, number 50. So the Master of Fear is here. What's good up, good brother? Hope all is well. And yeah, it's just crazy to me that I've done almost 50 of these, and I've probably done over 50 technically, but 50 on YouTube, so it is what it is. It's amazing that I've done over 50, and I have, such a small cult following. I don't really have that big of a following, but that's really, again, that's not why I do this. I do this for the fun of it, for the passion, to talk all things horror, which I got a bunch of good horror here to talk today. I've got these are actually from Dark Force Entertainment. And what's cool about them is they put out these awesome retro Grindhouse drive-in double features. And I think they're really badass. Like, and they're really retro in and of the fact that the film prints look grainy that they choose. And they actually have intermission periods where they show old school like 70s drive-in commercials like come get some fresh hot popcorn. I'll get into some of those. Like it's fucking I love these double features, man. This would be the first one they did. They released three of them until I don't know why they don't release more because I'd buy them all. I think these are so freaking cool. This was number two. And then, of course, the one I got, this one's out of print. Good luck finding this one for under $35, which I did actually find it at an auction. And that is The House That Vanished and the Eerie Midnight Picture Show. So, I'm sorry, Eerie Midnight Horror Show. And honestly, I got enjoyment out of all three of these. I think all three of these were pretty awesome buys for me, and I've enjoyed them. And there are some bad movies, like there are some bad ones in here, but I'll get into reviewing all six movies that are on all three double features, and I can get in depth and all that good stuff like that. But first, I wanted to take care of business, and I wanted to review this because I got this in the mail a couple weeks ago. Well, actually, no, just last week, actually. And man, I watched this last night and this was awesome. So I just wanted to do a quick little Blu-ray review. Sorry, I left it over in the corner. Nobody puts the woman in the corner. This is the woman Blu-ray from Lucky McKee, and I just wanted to, not as much as a movie review as more of a Blu-ray review because I thought this was absolutely fantastic, and I just wanted to discuss some of the features on this. New 4K restoration, supervised and approved by Lucky McKee, high def Blu-ray presentation, original DTS HD MA 5.1 surround. Just this movie looked incredible on Blu-ray. Like I had only seen that shitty DVD. I believe that I believe it was a Bloody Disgusting Select, and it didn't really look the greatest to me. But this Blu-ray, man, excellent, and I love the movie. I think the movie's really awesome. Had some really cool features. New commentary by star Pollyanna McIntosh. New commentary by critic Scott Weinberg. Archival commentary with Lucky McKee. Dad on the Wall, brand new 75-minute fly on the wall behind the scenes documentary filmed with the director's father, Mike McKee. That was a really cool feature. You don't see features like that usually. You had a behind the scenes documentary uh, that was archival, of course. You had Being Peggy Cleek, a newly filmed interview with Lauren Ashley Carter. That was a really fun interview where she was discussing like how she prepared for the role. Of course, Lauren Ashley Carter is pretty much a genre veteran. She's done a lot of horror movies. Of course, I always remember her from Darling. She's the lead in Darling, and I always was kind of like, on that movie. But she does a really good job here as like the teenage daughter character, and I really liked her interview. She was fun. She did tell a fun anecdote where at the premiere at Sundance, this woman that was sitting next to her completely just like fainted while watching the film. And as soon as like she did, she was like trying to help her and shit. Like this was towards the end of the film, and then after the film credits rolled, some guy in the audience just fucking lost his mind, started screaming. He was like, "This movie's trash. This movie's bullshit." This guy went on a full-on rant while there was some poor woman that fainted in the front row. So I thought that was absolutely fucking crazy. Like that must be a director's worst nightmare. Apparently, Lucky McKee was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And man, I could not imagine that. But her telling of it was really entertaining. Like she was really cool about it. And she really put over Sean Bridgers, which is the lead actor in this. Ryan's here. How you doing, Ryan? I really enjoyed this. I don't know if you'd like this one. I would watch this one first because this is definitely an acquired taste. I loved this movie, but I could totally see. I think you should give it a watch first. Ty Junebug Films here. What's up, good brother? Hope all is well with you, buddy. Oh, by the way, I caught your Bloodsport review. Awesome review, man. I love fucking Bloodsport, man. That is one day I should do like a JCBD episode or Stallone episode, just because like I'm a huge fucking action movie fan too. But I don't know. I love talking to horror, so I've got 50 episodes talking horror. So I want to see how long I can go before I fucking eventually just like I want to talk about Cobra, you know. But man, this was really cool, and I really enjoyed all the features on this. Of course, they had the original trailer, they had some deleted scenes, and I enjoyed watching the making of this movie. This is a really cool pickup, and also it's got the cool reversible slip cover art. This is actually done by Lucky McKee's wife. This artwork, and I like this better. But I don't know, for some reason I like retro. I like being like hipster like that. I've switched it to the old school poster, and then you have this. So I have both. I always do that with Shout Factory releases as well, where I just switch the DVD or Blu-ray case to the old school, and then I always have the slipcover with the new cover art. I think it's a cool way to kind of pay homage to say you like both, and I do. In this case, I really do like both. Uh, you know, this slot is slipcover art and the cover art on the Blu-ray. I think they both look great. But this was an awesome release. I couldn't recommend this enough. Picked it up on Diabolic DVD for like 27 bucks, and a lot of people will probably say that's steep for a movie like this. But I love the film, and I'm a big Lucky McKee fan. I'm glad. I definitely one day, if anybody on here has seen The Woods Blu-ray or owns The Woods on Blu-ray, I have the old crappy DVD of it. I think it's a Lionsgate DVD. I'm not sure, but I would love to get that one on Blu-ray. So let me know if people know how the transfer looks on that one, because I will definitely upgrade. And of course, I've always wanted to get May on Blu-ray. I actually was talking to the Dead Pit guys last night on their stream, and they were like, "How the hell is May not out in the United States domestically? Like it's absolutely crazy." And oh, Taijumbo JCVD is my favorite action hero. Thank you for checking out, dude. Honestly, like next to Sly, JCVD is my favorite too. Ty Junebug also did some awesome reviews for me that I requested, and he did the entire Universal Soldier franchise, and there were some awesome videos. I won't lie though, number one is always my favorite. I love the first Universal Soldier. I think it's the best Jean-Claude Van Damme film, and I think it's criminally underrated. And Roland Emmerich just nails it in the director's chair. Dolph Lundgren is one of the funnest villains in cinema history. You kiss ass, but I kick ass. Like he's just so much fun in that damn movie. I adore the Universal Soldier. It's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I adore that film. I put that one over like crazy. Maybe someday I'll discuss that one on the show. But for now, I will say I highly recommend people buy this. I really liked this one. Diabolic DVD. You can pick this up, 27 bucks. I did not regret it. I had a blast with it, and I'm glad. I hope maybe one day they'll do a release of the woman, not the woman, the Woods. I would love to see the Woods on Blu-ray from a Arrow or a Shout Factory. I'm not sure who put the Blu-ray out. I'm not sure. I don't know much about that Blu-ray, but it is what it is. And Time Cop is your favorite. That's cool. I love Time Cop. That's an awesome one. And Seagal. Oh, okay. I know Ryan loves like Under Siege, and I know Ryan's a big, big, big Seagal guy, and we love Seagal too. I wonder in an alternate universe like what the Demolition Man movie would have been like with those two instead of Stallone and Snipes. Like I love Stallone and Snipes. Don't get me wrong. Especially Snipes in that movie. He's a fun fucking villain. Simon Phoenix is a fun villain. But Man, I think Seagal would have played that role pretty cool. I would have liked to see Seagal play the villain and then maybe Van Damme play the Stallone role. I think that would have been pretty cool, but I think they both wanted to play the hero, and Seagal said, "If I'm not the hero, I'm not doing it," and that's why we never got those two in the roles. I'm really happy with the film we got and the three seashells and all that. Like, I'm really glad with the film we got, but man, I gotta say, I would have in an alternate universe would have loved to see Seagal as Simon Phoenix. I think that would have been a really cool thing, but we'll never see that, of course. It is what it is. No big deal. And without further ado, we're about 10 minutes in. We can start getting into these retro grindhouse drive-in double features. I've got three of them here. These are, again, I mentioned at the beginning, these were all put out by Dark Force Entertainment, and they do these retro like drive-in double feature releases. I hope they do more. I think this last one sold really poorly and got really poor reviews, so he discontinued it, unfortunately, and that's why we haven't gotten more of these, I think. I'm not positive. The guy that owns this is David DeFalco, and one of his movies are actually on here. But I would love to get more of these because I fucking really enjoy these. Like, these are the perfect movie night movies. Like, I'm just getting popcorn, a thing of dew, maybe some black cherry Stewart's glass soda. I'm chilling with this, man. I love these double features, and I had a good time with all these movies, even if the movies at points weren't the greatest. And I'm sorry, Ty Junebug says, it kind of disappoints me that we never got the sequel of Van Damme of Time Cop. I think that could have been Doctor Who meets Star Trek if they made a franchise. Yeah, it's weird they didn't make a franchise of that. I like those. I like the first film, and like it's funny. Like with Kickboxer, you don't have Van Damme in the sequel, and it's like it's weird. Like there's a lot of movies that like it's so strange that Van Damme didn't do more. Like Universal Soldier, the sequels all have their kind of like people hate the return, and then they seem to like the latter two. And I don't really like any of the sequels as much as I like the first one. I won't lie. Like I know people say the return is really underrated, and I don't think it's as bad as people say, but like at the same time, I kind of hate Bill Goldberg, so I can't get through Universal Soldier the Return. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that movie either. But I don't know, man. I do love me some JCVD. See, a JCVD film that nobody mentions is In Hell when he's in prison with Lawrence Taylor. That's a really good JCVD film that like, nobody fucking talks about. It's one of his best performances too, I would say. Like he definitely as an actor. Like I know a lot of people just are like, I don't care to see him act, which I can understand. Like I totally get that, but I don't know. I really love me some JCVD as an actor. But without further ado, we're going to get into these double features. I'm basically going to go through each film, the intermission, and then basically what I think of both of them as a double feature together. So it's going to be like 6 separate reviews, and then I'm going to rank which double feature I think is the best of these three. And it all started with this one. This was the first double feature Grindhouse release they did. And it was of the film Chaos, directed by David DeFalco, and Don't Look in the Basement. And the ordering I'm going to do these, I'm going to do them completely unbiasedly here. I'm just going to do them in the order that they're shown. So the first feature is actually Don't Look in the Basement, followed by Chaos. So I'll just go through them like that. So first off, we're going to look at Don't Look in the Basement from 1973. I have it up here. It was written by Tim Pope and directed by S.F. Browning. And it basically, I could do plot synopsis like the old days. Why the hell not? A young psychiatric nurse goes to work at a lonesome asylum following a murder. There, she experiences varying degrees of torment from the patients. Yes, Don't Look in the Basement. This was one of the original 72 video Nasty films. And that was really the main reason I wanted to watch this movie. And I was stoked. I bought this mainly for Don't Look in the Basement. And then for the second film, Chaos, I bought it more out of curiosity because I had always heard such terrible things about the movie Chaos. And Roger Ebert said it's like one of, if not the worst movie ever made. So I had kind of curiosity with Chaos, but I was really looking forward to Don't Look in the Basement. And I gotta say, Don't Look in the Basement is a film that I've noticed that a lot of people put over and a lot of people say is a great film. I think it's a decent film. I don't know if I would consider this great. I think this has moments and ideas that are really great, but I don't know if the execution's all there as much as I would like it to be. And It's basically this, like I said before, this nurse kind of comes to this mental asylum, and all of these people in the asylum kind of have their things and quirks to them. Like there's this one really big dude, and his name is Ben, and he's just kind of like really overly childish, and he likes popsicles and shit. I'm sorry, it's not Ben, it's Sam. I knew I was getting that confused. It's Sam is the lead man. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I watched this one, but he's like a big child. Like he's a 6'5" child, and he loves his popsicles, and he's always afraid of people are gonna tell on him and stuff. The actor does a wonderful job. I love him. I think he does a really, really wonderful job. I can get his name here. His name is Bill McGee. He was a big veteran actor, probably the biggest and best actor in this film. And yeah, this one woman who's kind of obsessed with her baby, and it's like a toy. It's like a little baby doll, and she believes that the doll's alive, and this doll leads to murders at some points because people she thinks that people have taken her baby. And of course you have that normal like asylum tropes in movies. Like you have these all these like colorful, quirky, weird characters. You have the one guy that's like kind of perverted and laughs a lot, and you have this new nurse that joins there who actually before this was a playboy penthouse playmate, which I thought was really cool. She was really good looking woman too. I can give you her name. Her name is Rosie Holitik, nor Charlotte Beale. Man, she was smoking hot, man. Beautiful, gorgeous, just glowing blue eyes. I just really enjoyed looking at her throughout most of this. In similar fashion to some of these movies, just have some gorgeous women in them. I will say that for these releases, they definitely all have some good looking leads in them. But where the film loses me at points is some of the cinematography is really close up and annoying, just like close up face shots of some of these inmates. And like, I'm just like, I don't like that stuff from time to time. It's just ugly looking. But at the same time, there are scenes where they're out in the yard and the garden, and there's just these beautiful shots of like all these like flowers around them and under a tree. And one of the opening shots is her walking through the rain to get to this asylum. And this is a beautiful blue tint to it. I think some of the cinematography is spot on in this. And at other points, I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, why are you doing such an ugly close up here? Like, it's just really odd. There's this quirky little old lady who at one point gets her tongue cut out, and she knows who the killer is, and she can't say it, obviously. Like, this movie is a lot of fun. I thoroughly really like this movie, but I do think it's a bit overrated. Like I think I would say it's a middle of the road film for me. Where I will say this film does have a unique look to it. Like it has a very unique look to it. Like I can't even explain. It looks very like the colors in it are very oversaturated, and it's weird. I can't explain it. There's not many films that look like Don't Look in the Basement. And I can't really explain why, but I was kind of attracted to the oversaturated colors because it made the film more ugly, but more watchable at the same time in a lot of ways, if that makes any sense. It is more colorful, but not vibrant. It was almost like just oversaturated. It was weird, very strange. I've never seen too many films that look like Don't Look in the Basement. And it was actually the cinematographer was done by a man, I forget his first name, but his last name was Alcott. And I thought, is there any relation to John Alcott of Stanley Kubrick fame, like, The Shining and Barry Lyndon and Full Metal Jacket? Well, actually, I don't think he did Full Metal Jacket. I think he passed away sadly before then. But I wonder if they were related in any way. Alcott cinematographers. I don't know. I thought that was very around the same time period. I don't know if I think John Alcott was a lot better than this guy. I will say that. But I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was good. It has a fun little finale in the actual basement, which is a decent, making up for the title because I think the original title was The Forgotten. And that one makes more sense, of course, than this title does. Don't Look in the Basement. But it is still one of the video nasties. It is one of the films that tells you don't, of course, that Edgar Wright has gone on to spoof in, the Grindhouse trailer of the 2007 double feature. I enjoy it. It's definitely not like one of my favorite, even Don't films. Like I like Don't Go in the House way better. I think Don't Go in the House is a fucking masterpiece. Whereas this, it has exploitation elements, but it's much more of a psychological horror film. And I think I went into it thinking that more, and then the exploitation elements kind of makes it into a video nasty. But I don't know if they go far enough with that. At the same time, the body count in this film is high, especially towards the last few minutes. People die like crazy in the final like 2 minutes of this film. But I will say, just not one that I loved. Maybe I wasn't in the mood for it. Maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe I expected something different. I don't know. I can't really give my full explanation as to why I didn't love Don't Look in the Basement. But for me, it's very middle of the road. It has its positives. I think the writing is good. I think the acting is good. I think at times the cinematography is good. The direction, not the greatest. It's very amateurish. Apparently, it was shot in 12 days on a budget of less than 100 grand. So really cheap filmmaking. Apparently, that filmmaker made like 4 movies in a span of like 2 years and released them at different time periods because of lack of finding a distributor. And he has kind of a cult following. I know Kim Newman is a big fan of him, and I usually always agree with Kim Newman, but I don't know. He's saying on the video Nasties, I think it's over here where this is I would love to talk about this one day. The Video Nasties documentary, and there's 3 discs to this. This is over like 23 hours of content in this set. This is incredible. And he reviewed the film, and I don't he was just putting it over like crazy. I can't put this film over like crazy. To me, it's a middle of the road movie. Maybe someday I'll revisit it and maybe I'll see something more, but definitely a middle of the road video nasty film for me for Don't Look in the Basement. I'm going to come in at a 5 out of 10. Very average film for me. Also gets a 5.1 on IMDb, which I felt was funny. I was like, that's one time I'm spot on with IMDb. I agree. It's about a 5 out of 10. And Ty Junebug says, "Oh yeah, John Claude Van Damme in Hell. If you don't think John Claude Van Damme could act, that's one you should definitely check out. Underrated." Dude, I completely agree. I love John Claude Van Damme in Hell. I think that's a great fucking movie that nobody ever mentions. I even think Lawrence Taylor does a good job in the bit role he's in. I love the scenes with JCVD in the cell and like he keeps seeing that bug. And I don't know. I think it's a fantastic film. I really like it. Yeah, I know The Woods is on Blue, but I just don't know what company. And I don't know if it has features. I'm not sure about that Blu-ray. It could be a bare bones Blu-ray for all I know. And I don't know. I guess I just would like to know if somebody has it and says was it worth it for the transfer? Is it worth it? Does it have features? I don't really know. I'm just not positive on that one. That's why I'm kind of holding off and I'm sticking with that old school DVD for now. But eventually, someday, I hope The Woods gets a special edition because that's arguably my favorite Lucky McKee film. But after Don't Look in the Basement, you get, of course, a little intermission period where they show some old school trailers, which I like. And some of the trailers are actually for films that they would later go on to do. I believe House That Vanished is one of them, which is cool because they eventually did The House That Vanished on Blu ray. And you get a couple of those, and then you get a 10-minute intermission where you get all these fun little interactive things. Like you get this commercial where this couple are at the movies and they're eating popcorn, they run out, and he goes up to the thing to get soda, and he gets his kiss at the end. Like it's really fucking cheesy 70s infomercials and commercials, just like, let's all go to the lobby, really fucking cheesy. You get that really bad fun hand-drawn animation that I love. And I will say that like with all 3 of these, I love that they add that. It adds the atmosphere and aesthetic of that time period, and it makes me into the movies, and it makes me want to see what's more, and it makes me feel like I'm at an actual movie theater or an actual drive-in. And a lot of people, maybe for years, and me included, I'm not saying that I'm not included in this, I would take things like this for granted. Like, I mean, I would love to go to the movies. I love to go to, if about 40-minute ride for me, but there's this little theater that plays retro horror 35 millimeter double features, and seeing those movies with a crowd. Like I saw the original Friday the 13th and Carrie back to back with a crowd. It was incredible. Motel Hell and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on 35 with a crowd. Like this is the next best thing for me to watch these movies in their old school print as they were presented in drive-ins back in the day, and it just takes me back to an era that I missed. And I wish, man, I really do wish that movie theaters will come back better than ever and striving. And until then, man, I loved watching these double features. I had a blast the other night when I watched this one. This one's the most fresh in my mind, this Blu-ray double feature. And Then we get the film Chaos, and oh, okay, so Ty Junebug also Alcott's not related to that guy. That makes sense because the other guy was not as good as a cinematographer, and though now we're going to get into some controversy. This is a film from 2005, written and directed by David DeFalco. Is Chaos, and oh man, I'll be honest, I wanted to like this movie. I really truly did want to like this movie because I love exploitation. If there's anything I love in the genre, it's exploitation. I'm a huge fan of I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left. I love exploitation grindhouse drive-in movies. And this was David DeFalco's attempt to try to remake Last House on the Left, but more X-rated. If you felt that Hollywood remake from '09 was too PG-13, I know it was R-rated, but in a lot of ways, like they don't show the rape. They don't really show nudity in that 2009 remake. It's a very Hollywood polished version of the original. And a lot of people like it for that. A lot of people say that, oh, I like that it's not as mean-spirited and stuff like that. If you're one of those people that hated that remake, maybe watch Chaos. I will say I can recommend it that way. But man, I think this is everything that's wrong with exploitation cinema and everything that I just don't like about certain filmmakers that think they know the genre and just don't, man. Chaos, it basically, if tell me if stop me if you heard this one before. Two girls are going to a concert, they ask the wrong person for some weed, and they're taken advantage of, raped, murdered, and then the group that kills them knocks on the door of their parents' house. Wow, that's original. It's of course a ripoff of Last House on the Left, and I think where David DeFalco misses the point is that I think he just figured I'm going to tone up the gore. I'm going to tone up the violence. I'm going to make it even more hardcore. Whereas that was never the fault or problem with the original. I think a lot of people's problem with the original was the side characters, the cops, of course, some of the acting, the look of the film. But in a lot of ways, I think that's the charm of the original Last House on the Left. Whereas this film, it has no merit. It has nothing to it. I believe it gets like a 3 on IMDb. And it kind of deserves that. There's scenes that are hardcore, like one of the girls, she's begging for her life, and the lead heel character, he chops off her nipple and eats her nipple like right in front of her. And that's some crazy ass shit. Like the violence in this movie is fucking insane. But at the same time, I feel like it's violence just for the sake of it at points, and it doesn't really have any style to it. It's one of those films that it's almost like Eli Roth in the case of Green Inferno. I feel like he saw Cannibal Holocaust and he just sees, oh, the animal killings, oh, the fucked up. He misses the point, the same as David DeFalco misses the point as to why Wes Craven's Last House on the Left leaves the impact that it leaves. Sure, we all remember David Hess. We all love David Hess's mean-spirited performance. And hell, he reprised it in a movie I'm going to discuss in House on the Edge of the Park. But that film was about asking the question, what would you do? What would you do if the ones you loved died in that brutal of a way and you had to take matters into your own hands? And it's that scary question that is presented to the viewer that makes that movie work, I think. And some of the character moments where Sadie says, "Piss your pants," and she wants them to piss their pants. And the two girls are stripping, and Sandra Castle's character is crying, and Lucy Grantham's character just goes, Look at me, it's just us. It's just us." It's those human moments. It's the moment where Krug, after he gets done raping the Mary character, that he looks disgusted, and the David Hess song plays in the background, and now you're all alone, and your heart in that moment is just torn because he does feel remorse. He does feel regret. And you realize that this is not just a bad psycho crazy madman. This is a human being. And that's one of the scariest things about the original film. There's none of that in Chaos. There's none of it. It's completely substance and it's complete trash in my opinion. It is trash cinema. And I know that like if people like August Underground, if people like fucked up disturbing like movies like that, they're definitely going to like Chaos probably because it's a movie that in a lot of ways it's substance over style. It's just for the sake of it. And I know there's a lot of instances where I like style over substance, and there are state cases where I like substance over style. But Chaos is just not one of those films for me. I think it is brutal. There are some really brutal scenes in it. I know there's one scene where he sticks a knife up a woman's ass, and that's some crazy ass shit. Like it goes there, it goes for it. I'm not saying that this is by any means a tame film, but I think it misses the point. And I know it's weird. We were talking about Stallone before. Sage Stallone is actually one of the killers in this. And it's really weird because he found Grindhouse releasing. So he was a big fan of movies like this, exploitation movies. But I feel as though David DeFalco just kind of misses the point. And he also made like the Backlot Murders. That's a piece of shit. He made Wrong Side of Town with Rob Van Dam and Dave Bautista, which is a total piece of shit action film too. I think that was mercifully the end. And I know that they are always plugging this film and they were always mentioning that Roger Ebert says it's like one of the worst, most worthless films of all time. And it's a piece of shit. I agree. But I feel like almost he toots his own horn with that one a little bit too much. It's almost a turnoff. The film is only about they're not even I don't even know if they say on here. I don't think they say. 89 minutes for Don't Look in the Basement. Chaos is 74 minutes with credits. It is about 70 minutes long. I counted when last time I watched Chaos. It is a really short fucking film. It's 70 minutes of just fucking torture and no fucking style at all, just for the sake of it. I think it completely misses the point and the fun of exploitation films. The acting is terrible, other than the guy that plays like the Krug like character. He does a good job. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of Chaos. It's another one where I'm going to agree with IMDb. I'm going to come in at about a 3 out of 10. I don't really like Chaos. I think of these 6 movies, it's easily the worst one. So, not a fan. If you, again, though, if you like films like August Underground, Serbian film, if you like films like that don't really have all that much more than just the reputation, of course, movies like Human Centipede 2, stuff like that. If you like films like that, maybe you'll love it. I don't know. I think it completely misses the point as to why I love exploitation. So that is Chaos, and I'm going to give that one a 3 out of 10. So you're probably like, wow, 5 out of 10, 3 out of 10. I would probably say this is the weakest of the double features, and it's weird. It's the one I have a DVD, so I guess I couldn't even really enjoy the high def version. I found this for really cheap. I got it for like $3. That's why I just dipped on the DVD and not the blue. I will say this doesn't really work as a double feature at all. Like you have one video nasty from the 70s and then one really weirdly bad exploitation film from the early 2000s. Like it's just weird. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. Not a big fan of Chaos. Don't Look in the Basement. I'm glad to own it because I'm a big video nasties guy. So I will definitely give that one a rewatch down the road. But as for Chaos, don't see myself watching that one anytime soon. Not a big fan. Doesn't really work as a double feature, but I do enjoy this, and I could recommend picking this up for $3 like I did. Like I would say get this one if it's cheap. I think this one is the most available for sure though. So that is the first one of the 3. And getting into the second one, oh yes, this is Two Houses of Hell. It is The Last House on Massacre Street, followed by House on the Edge of the Park. Last House on Massacre Street is actually the real title of the film is called The Bride. And it's a really good film. I really like The Bride. I can give you a little plot synopsis here. A neurotic and newlywed Barbara, played by Robin Strasser, finds her husband, Arthur Roberts, in bed with his old flame, Eva. Robin doesn't get mad. She just wants to get even. Yes, this is The Bride from 1973, aka The House That Cried Murder, aka The Last House on Massacre Street. Of course, this was a cheap marketing ploy that they basically wanted to do in the early 70s to sound like films like Last House on the Left and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So what did they do? They just put the two fucking together and tried to market The Bride. A lot of the movies around this time would use that marketing campaign. And even here, to avoid feigning it's only a movie, it's only a movie, it's only a movie, that was of course ripped off from Last House on the Left and taken by Don't Look in the Basement at the time. Movies like The House That Vanished at the time. And it's funny, all 3 of these menu screens have that playing in the background. It's only a movie. It's only a movie. which I'm a sucker for. I kind of like that. I'm a big 70s marketing campaign guy. But the first film, Last House on Massacre Street, aka The Bride, I really enjoy this one. I think it's a big step up for me when it comes to these drive-in double feature releases. It basically, like I get laid it out to you, it's this husband and wife, and on their wedding day, he cheats on her. She takes off in a car, and then he just doesn't know what to do. He's kind of all torn, and I don't know what I'm doing. I just messed up my whole life. And weirdly enough, every now and again, he gets these strange packages in the mail of like dead animals, and he gets all these cryptic messages from his runaway bride. And this is a fun ass movie. I enjoy this flick. Is it slow at times? Sure, it does have a slow pace to it, but I love the style, the look of this thing. It's also directed by, and this people will find this very interesting. If I can get the director's name up here. Oh, it's not. I don't see the director's name. That's weird. Oh, okay. Jean Marie Pesile, who I thought they had something to do with a certain film that came out in the 80s. No, I guess I'm wrong. So the okay, I'm sorry. It was the writer that had something to do with the movie I'm about to talk about. The writer of The Bride actually went on to write and direct the little movie called Blood Rage from 1987. Of course, the classic Thanksgiving horror film, slasher film. That's not cranberry sauce. That's the same writer as this movie, like 13 years apart, which I thought was really cool. And, Hell Hath No Fury Like a Woman Scorned. I will say that. And I think this has a really good style to it, a really good look to it. At times, it feels like a colorized version feature length version of a Twilight Zone episode, and I thought that really worked for this thing. I think in a lot of ways the payoff is fantastic, and it's an ending that you don't really see coming. I won't ruin it for people because I feel like nobody's really seen this movie. And I don't know, man. I enjoyed this from beginning to end. I thought it was a really cool idea. I thought the concept was executed really well. And I thought the look of the film, music in the film, sometimes the lack of music, there's some really good creepy scenes where there's like just dead silence. I really liked that stuff. And there's this whole finale in a house, and like it's just really creepy, man. It's something out of a ghoul film. I love the finale of this movie. I won't ruin it, but man, I really like Last House on Massacre Street, aka I just call it The Bride, because that's really, I mean, that's the artwork over here, where it's a bouquet of flowers with scissors attached at the end with blood dripping down. Really cool stuff. Now, I know a lot of people probably asking, is this an exploitation film? Whereas, Chaos is a bad exploitation film, and Don't Look in the Basement has exploitation elements. Last House on Massacre Street is not an exploitation film. Last House on Massacre Street is almost like a really dark psychological drama. And I liked that change in pace. I liked that it wasn't an exploitation film, even though I love exploitation. I thought it really did its job well. I thought the acting was good, the direction was good, and I don't know, man. I'm a pretty big fan of Last House on Massacre Street. I will put this one over. I will give this one a solid 7 out of 10. Really had fun with Last House on Massacre Street. I think it's an awesome first feature. Of course, we get more trailers. One of them is Chaos. One of them is which I'm just like, all right, you already got me to fucking buy that, which is funny because I'm just like, man, this guy always has to plug his fucking movie Chaos, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Um, we get those, we get the intermission, and then we get Ruggiero Diodato's House on the Edge of the Park, starring the latest, greatest, one of my favorite actors of all time, of course, one David Hess. Film came out in 1980, the same year of that Cannibal Holocaust was released. So he was on a real tear. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust, one of my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. And then House on the Edge of the Park is probably in my top five break-in home invasion films ever made. It is fucking fantastic, and is one of my favorite video nasties. Probably in my top 10 video nasties. And again, it's going to sound familiar. It's a similar setup to Last House on the Left, where the film opens where David Hess actually murders and rapes a woman. And then we get these awesome opening title credits, and of course, Mr. Riz Ortolani, who does the beautiful, wonderful score for Cannibal Holocaust. Of course, he does the score for this, and it's wonderful. It's this great, just creepy ass song called "Sweetly." Sweetly, oh sweetly, Summertime is coming. It's fucking really good as they pan to the house on the edge of the park, and you get these awesome opening scenes. David Hess gets top billing, which I'm a mark for. I think he deserved top billing in any movie he was ever in, even if he was a side character. I love me some David Hess. I just freaking love this movie. And I think from beginning, middle to end, it's a fucking great exploitation film. Basically, David Hess is a mechanic and he works with, of course, Giovanni Lamberto Radici, but this was one of his first films. And they're buddies. They're looking for a good time on the night to go boogieing. David Hess is wearing a awesome like yellow vest. I mean, it's just really, really fucking funny and cheesy. And basically these kids pull in and they're these rich kids and they're like, hey, will you fix my car for 20 bucks? And David Hess is like, dude, you ain't speaking my language. So they pay him like an absurd amount of money, like, please, can you fix my car? And he goes, all right. And they go, well, thank you for all your troubles and all this stuff. And would you want to come over to our house for a party? And David Hess is like, hell yeah, I'll come over to your house for a party. Why not? They go to these rich kids' house and basically shit hits the fan shortly after that, and David Hess takes control of this party with a switchblade in hand. This, okay, this is one of those reasons why I love exploitation in horror films. And this is one of the reasons why I think Ruggero Deodato is one of the best horror film directors to ever do it. First of all, number one is David Hess's performance. This movie is elevated to a different level because of his performance. Number two, it is sleazy as all hell. You've got good looking women getting naked, having sex. It's fucking sleazy as fuck. Sleazeballs will love this film, and I'm one of them, man. I adore sleaze in an exploitation film because a lot of times nowadays, man, you don't get sleaze in films like this anymore. Like Friday the 13th was built on sleaze. And exploitation movies of the 70s, they were built on sleaze. In some ways, shape, or form, I believe the original Last House on the Left was going to be a fucking porno. So there has to be sleaze in there. Like, I think sleaze really puts exploitation over the top because we live in sleazy world, man. It's a sleazy, at least that time period was a sleazy, the world was sleazy. And I just enjoy that. Like, there's a scene where this really good looking woman, I could pull up her name in a little bit, but this really fucking good looking woman is in the shower and she looks at David Hess and she's like, you want a loofah me? I was just like about to jump through the fucking television. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like she just had an amazing ass body, man. And there's this other girl who also went on to be in Cannibal Ferox. Weirdly enough, with Giovanni Lamberto Radici, she has a sex scene with him. I thought that was pretty fucking awesome. And I don't know, like, this just has everything. Like the sleaze element is so there, but the exploitation elements of violence and brutality are so fucking well done too, man. There's points where David Hess just beats the fucking shit out of these kids, like all at once too. Like he just beats the fucking shit out of them for making fun of his friend Giovanni Lamberto Radici, who's a little slow. The character's slow in the film. And man, David Hess is just haunting in this film. Like he's just cutting up people with switchblades and stuff and threatening people and cutting these great fucking promos. I just adore him, man. There's a scene where he's trying to figure out what he's gonna do, and everyone's like dead silent because they're afraid of him. And he's looking around, he's pacing, pondering, and he just goes, blah! Like he just jumps to this guy's face and goes, blah! I love that, man. I pop every time, like, because you don't see it coming. It's just like it's purposely put in there for a laugh. And man, it gets me every time. There's, of course, like I said, the song Sweetly Oh Sweetly, so scary, so creepy. It adds a perfect atmosphere and tension to this film. The tension really never lets up. And that's the thing I love about this movie. It's a great home invasion movie. Whereas, like, a lot of people put over The Strangers, a lot of people put over You're Next. I don't like those films, man. I won't lie. I don't like those movies at all. Those aren't good exploitation, breaking, home invasion movies. House on the Edge of the Park is a great exploitation home invasion movie because it has a great star from the lead. It has sleaze, it has violence, it has brutality, it has beautiful music, a really good direction. I just adore this film. And one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in this movie, a scene that horrified me, terrified me, and literally just I was thinking about it for days after. There's a scene where this girl who's unbeknownst to what's going on, comes to the party. Her name's Cindy. She comes to the party late, and David Hess is like, "Oh, come in," and she's all playful and nice and cheery, and she doesn't know at all what's going on. And David Hess says, "Oh, come on in," and he sits her down on the couch, and he's feeling her up and stuff, and she starts to feel uncomfortable, and he finds out that she's a virgin. And David Hess just he gets such a sick pleasure out of fucking with her after that. It scared the shit out of me. Like, he's feeling her up and he goes, "She's a virgin." Oh, I ought to kick your boyfriend's ass. That's a real asshole. He goes, how did he, let you, a beautiful piece like you, just lay around? I can't stand it. And it's fucking scary, man. Like, David Hess really scares the shit out of you in this film. And he lays her down at one point. He's taking her clothes off and he's singing the song to her as he's cutting her with a switchblade and singing this creepy ass fucking song. Cindy, oh Cindy, Cindy, don't let me down. Write me a letter soon and I'll be homeward bound. Fucking the first time I watched this, dude, I paused after that and I took a break. It was so menacing and so mean spirited, but he took a beautiful song and just inserted it in such a fucked up moment as he was almost taunting this girl and beating her and cutting her and all this shit. It's fucking horror done right. That's exploitation done right. That's how you do it, Chaos, David DeFalco. That's how you do it. There's a style to it. There's a fucking terror to it. There's a meaning there. And that's why I think it works, man. And David Hess, like I said, I cannot praise him enough. I think it's one of the greatest horror movie performances of all time. This and his performance as Krug won a Carey Award on my show. I gave David Hess Best Actor at the Carey Awards. I think he's the best actor in those two movies, this movie and Last House on the Left. He just nails it as the Alex character in this. He's wonderfully scary and terrifying. I love this film. I will say it does have a twist towards the ending that the first time I saw it, I thought was brilliant. And then I thought about it and was like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense, you know? So I'm kind of, every time I watch this, I'm just like, that ending is just so thrown in there. It's so fucking weird. I don't know. I don't really like that ending. But other than that, I really love this one. It has a really fun finale. I won't try to ruin any of that stuff, but there is a really fun over the top death scene that's done in slow motion and involves the pool. It's excellent, man. This thing has it all: visuals, acting, good writing, good cinematography, a great score by Riz Ortolani, exploitation, home invasion at its absolute fucking finest. I love this movie. I'm going to come in at a solid 8.5 out of 10. I love House on the Edge of the Park. Really, really good movie. Probably my favorite movie of all these six and the one I'd recommend the most. I know they have solo Blu-ray releases of this, so if you're not into the double feature thing, if you don't think The Bride sounds entertaining and you're like, shit, that's not an exploitation film, I can understand that, but I think having the two together is really cool, and I enjoyed these movies as a double feature. Overall, as a double feature, I'd give this one like a 9 out of 10 because I was entertained the whole way through. I thought both movies were different enough. I thought they were, old enough, and they kind of worked together because they were both made around the same time period. Whereas this double feature, I didn't think that worked. Like, you're going from 1973 to 2005. It just doesn't work for me. These two, though, you've got maybe a 6-year age gap, 7-year age gap. I thought was really well done. I thought this was really fun double feature. Probably my favorite of the three double features that Dark Force Entertainment has released. So that was number two. And of course, this one, the out of print one, the one that no one seems to give enough credit, is The House That Vanished plus the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, aka The Sexorcist, which is the first film I'll get into here. I loved the first movie of this, the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, and I gotta say, I liked it probably the best of the two movies. And it's funny. I don't know about you guys, but like with Grindhouse double features, I always feel like I should like the second film more. Like, I always go into it thinking like, okay, this is just the warm up, the first film. Then we get the intermission, we get the trailers, we get all this build, and then bam, I want to be blown away by the second film. With the Tarantino Robert Rodriguez double feature, I like Death Proof better. Always have, always will. I think Death Proof's a way better movie than Planet Terror. I always say this too, and I agree with Edgar Rodriguez. Uh, Not Edgar Rodriguez, Jesus, Edgar Wright. Sorry, he said that Planet Terror is a spoof of a Grindhouse film, whereas Death Proof is a Grindhouse film. So true. That's exactly how it is, and that's why I like Death Proof better. It's an exploitation film. But these two work as a good double feature like that because the first film's really fun, and then the second film's pretty much really serious. So in a lot of ways, it reminded me of that. But in this case, I did like feature one a little bit better. Of course, the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, aka the Sexorcist, which I fucking love that title. I think that's an excellent title. I have it up here. Aka the Enter the Devil. I think the Sexorcist is the better title of the two personally. It stars Stella Carnacina as our lead, and she's just gorgeous, voluptuous to look at. Again, another beautiful female lead in these double feature movies. And she is this huge art collector, and she collects statues, paintings, you name it. One day she's at this like old school chapel and she sees this statue of it looks like a man crucified. It's not Jesus. They say it's not Jesus. It's just a man crucified and a statue of it, and she loves it. She buys it. One night she's painting, and the next thing you know, the statue comes to life and pretty much seduces her to have sex with it. And she becomes possessed by the devil through that sexual encounter. And it is just shit hits the fan from there. It is a crazy, crazy, crazy Italian exorcist ripoff. And I had a fucking ball with this. Laughed my ass off. And there's just so many funny ass scenes in this. There's a scene where she comes home and her parents are trying to figure out what the fuck's wrong with her. She's possessed by the devil, and they're like, she tells her dad, she's like, "No, Dad, I've always wanted to fuck you," and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Come on, man, incest is just a word." And I'm sitting here, I'm bawling laughing. I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And the thing that made me like, I literally fell on the floor laughing. The mother comes into the room and she's like, "What's the matter, honey?" And he's like, "She wants to have sex with me." And she goes, "Oh, okay, I know what to do. I'll get her a warm glass of milk and she'll just go right to bed and forget about it." I was like, "What?" I thought it was the funniest shit ever. Like, yo, incest, the cure for incest is, of course, warm milk. That bitch will go right to sleep and forget she ever wanted incest. I was just like baffled by that. I thought that was so fucking funny. And this movie just has a good spirit to it, a really fun pace to it, good acting. Again, very fucking sleazy. There's a scene where there's like a whole subplot where the wife is cheating on the husband. It doesn't really have to be in there, but it's just in there to be fucking graphic and gory and show exploitation elements, of course, where she likes to have sex with this guy and she likes to be beaten and then have rose petals dropped on her wounds. Fucking weird shit. Like I was like, what in the fuck am I watching? Like it was bizarre. He's ripping her clothes off and then he whips the shit out of her and he just drops these rose petals on her and she's like, "Oh." And I'm just we need Nick Reap from last week, man. Just do the imitation. I would love for him to see the Sexorcist. I feel like he'd fucking just be like, "What in the fuck?" Because that was kind of my reaction. But I adored the fun tone and pace of this film. I see, to me, it's everything a fun, sleazy exploitation grindhouse Italian exorcist ripoff should be. It's boobs, blood, and mayhem, and it has some fun characters, dialogue. It has a really fucking crazy final act where they take this bitch to a chapel and she imagines this crucifixion scene, which I thought was really well done. The gore was just like Dawn of the Dead, like that Crayola crayon melted red, just vibrant, popped off the screen, looked excellent on blue. And I just really, really had a blast with this movie. I thought the finale was fun. There's a scene in the finale where this priest is fighting her and she's beating the dog shit out of him with a chain. Like she just keeps hitting him in the fucking head with a chain. And he's like trying to be like, "Be gone, leave this vessel." And she's like, "Shut the fuck up, you fucking old man." Beats the shit out of him. Fucking wild, really fucking wild finale. But I loved The Sexorcist. I could not recommend The Sexorcist enough. A very fun movie, a movie that I think works on its own. It doesn't even have to be in a double feature. but a movie that I will go back and rewatch for years to come because to me that's a fun ass version of The Exorcist, and I don't know, I love The Sexorcist. I'm gonna come in at a solid 8 out of 10. Really, really had fun time with The Sexorcist. Oh, and I'd like to give the director credit here. I didn't say his Mario Gariazzo. He went on to direct a lot of movies similar vein, like a lot of like low budget, cheap Italian films. I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with his filmography, so maybe I'll have to dip into more because I thought this was excellent. I had a really fun time. It's so funny how it really takes the bottom billing. Like with these two, it's like even, I guess House on the Edge of Park does deserve top billing. But Last House on Massacre gets a big thing too, and the same with these two. These two are about even with their promotion. Whereas this one, it's like the house that vanished plus the eerie midnight heart. I just was like, damn, like this movie bad? And it gets a 4.7 on IMDb. That's fucking ridiculously low. It's a fun ass fucking movie. Has great visuals, great direction, sleazy women, fucking a lot of good looking sleazy women at that. Entertaining from moment one to the end. And I honestly think it's a really good flick. I love The Sexorcist. I'll put that one over for sure. Of course, more trailers. Another one for Chaos, which I thought was funny. I was just like, Jesus Christ, this guy would blow himself if he could. And you get, of course, this one had the best intermission period. This one had the best cheesy infomercials for sure. I thought that this one easily had the best intermission. And then The House That Vanished, which is a film I had never seen up until this point. And I gotta say, this one starts a lot better than it finishes. Like, I can give you a brief plot synopsis here. A young model and her petty thief boyfriend find their way through the English fog to a backwoods manor in hopes of looting it. What they find instead is murder. Yes, The House That Vanished. This is a film I really thought I was gonna like, especially about 45 minutes to an hour in. I was fucking very much invested in this. It basically, like I said, it tells the story of this couple, and they're going to this house as the boyfriend's a thief. We don't know why he chooses this house. She keeps asking, he's saying, "Shut up, bitch," which I thought was really fucking funny. The lead in this one, Andrea Allen, fucking one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. You do see her titties in this very briefly for about 2 to 3 seconds, which was a bummer. And I do know that the controversy over this was that The House That Vanished is very cut. Like there's like I think like 7 minutes cut out of the film, which is absurd. I agree with the critics. But I think DeFalco's defense was, oh, this was the 35 millimeter print shown, and it is a scratchy print. It is really scratchy. Like there's green line going through it pretty much the entire time, which was it was a shame. I mean, I know it wasn't the best print of this, and it wasn't uncut. But I did enjoy the way it looked for the sake of it. I'm glad they made a high def version of this. They basically witness a murder of this woman who's like seducing this guy, and he murders her in black gloves, kind of like a giallo. And one thing leads to another, and she feels like she's being followed by the man. And I will say this movie is just dripping with atmosphere. It has a great fucking atmosphere to it, and that's the best thing in it. Some of the vibrant colors in this just popped off the screen. Really good dark blues and magentas and purples, and just some of these scenes just popped off the screen for me and really added a beautiful atmosphere to this film. I can't stress that enough. That's the main reason to watch this movie. If you're a big atmosphere junkie like me, totally beautiful, beautiful style to this movie. And one thing leads to another. She keeps thinking that certain people could be red herrings and certain people could be the killer. And I liked that part and how she's trying to unfold it and some of the flashback scenes through the fog. I think the director does a really good job of creating the atmosphere. Jose Ramon Larez, and he went under the pseudonym of Joseph Larez. And I think he does a really good job. I would like to dip into some more of his films because his film was really good looking. Where I think this one goes wrong, though, is the finale. It's one of those movies where the first two-thirds, the beginning and middle, are great. And the ending is just such a freaking letdown compared to the first two-thirds of this movie. it's just it almost becomes a Hammer horror film towards the end, and I just didn't get that direction. I almost wish they had gone more of an exploitation route towards the end of this one. I know a lot of people will probably defend and say, "Oh, well, it's not exploitation, and how could you put a movie over like Last House on Massacre Street, whereas that one is not really exploitation?" I get that, I understand that, but that movie had a fun finale and it had entertaining beginning and middle. Whereas this movie had a fun beginning, middle, and has a really just a dull finale where I just kind of threw up my arms and was like, that's it. Kind of one of those moments for me. I don't know. I'm kind of, again, middle of the road on this one. I will say it's a little bit better than, you know, the movie I was talking about before, Don't Look at the Basement. I would put it a little bit above that just because the atmosphere is just so legendary. I love the atmosphere and the look and the tone and the vibrant colors and direction of this film. Of course, the lead, I think she's beautiful. Andrea Allen, just gorgeous. She was a Playboy model. She's just beautiful, man. I never got sick of looking at her. She was gorgeous. And I don't know. I think this movie desperately needed some sleaze. It desperately needed that exploitation kick because the style was there. The style was fantastic. It's just it falls a little flat for me. I think a little bit more exploitation elements, a little bit take a little bit from the Sexorcist, be a little bit more sleazy, a little bit more over the top, a little bit more. It just needed that oomph to it. And I think this would have been a great movie. This probably would have been the better movie of the two. Technically, it's better made than The Sexorcist, but I like The Sexorcist way more. It was more fun. And I will come in at about a 6 out of 10 for The House That Vanished, a lot lower than I thought, especially after an hour in. I was like, oh man, I love this. I'm going to love this. This is fucking exactly a movie I like. And it just kind of falls flat at the end for me, personally. I thought it had a weak finale. But one day I'd like to see the uncut version. I know the uncut version is apparently a little bit more exploitative, and maybe that hurt this film that it was the cut version. So it's hard for me to judge it on that merit. Maybe when I see the uncut version, I can give it more of a fair rating. But for now, I'm going to come in at a 6 out of 10 for The House That Vanished. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both these movies, especially the first one. The Sexorcist is definitely the better of the two for me. Really highly enjoyed this double feature. The best intermission of all three of these for sure. And I don't know. I will definitely revisit this as a double feature one day. The House That Vanished is definitely one I want to give a rewatch, and maybe I don't know, maybe I can watch the uncut version and then compare it to this because I definitely would like to revisit that one. That's one where I'm more looking forward to revisiting it than a Don't Look in the Basement. So that is The House That Vanished and the Eerie Midnight Horror Show. That is all three of these retro drive-in double features. Again, if I had to rank these, I would say coming at the bottom, I would say this double feature just because it doesn't work as a double feature. And I think Chaos is a piece of shit movie. It's of these six, it's the only movie that I consider really bad. Don't Look in the Basement's awesome. It's just not. I don't know. For some reason, I just have to give it another look. I definitely have to give Don't Look in the Basement another look. It's a video nasty film that I'd like to give a rewatch. Then I would say the latest one. I liked this one, the out of print one, House That Vanished and the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, aka The Sexorcist. Really had fun with this. I thought it was a fun time. And then I would say the best one was number two. I liked Last House on Massacre Street, aka The Bride, and House on the Edge of the Park with the legendary David Hess. I think that this worked as a double feature the most. And I would say that this one really worked too. I liked this as a double feature as well. You had the fun movie followed by the more serious movie in similar vein to Grindhouse from 2007. It worked in that light. Oh, Aiden's here. What's up, Aiden? Hope all is well, buddy. And yeah, he's a little bit late. No worries. No worries at all. This was a fun show. I had a really good time talking about these. I really am a big fan of these like retro Grindhouse double feature releases. I hope there's more from Dark Force Entertainment because I don't know, I'm a sucker for these. I believe Code Red helps them do the transfers on these, and then Dark Force Entertainment releases it and gives them a cut of the profit. I believe that's how it works. But after this one got poor reviews and they discontinued it, I don't think there's going to be any more of these. So I think this is going to be the end for a long time. But man, I got to say, I enjoy 5 out of the 6 films to a point, and I really do enjoy these as doing a long, big movie night with popcorn and soda and all that stuff. That's why these really work, and that's why I really put them over because especially in a time where we can't go to the movie theaters right now, I think there's nothing cooler than to just sit back, relax, watch retro double feature with an intermission. And I think they're fun. I think they're fun movies, especially Sexorcist and House on the Edge of the Park. Those are two of my favorites of these six. So I want to thank everybody for joining. This was a really, really fun show. I will be back next week with the milestone episode number 50. I can't wait. Can't believe it. It's been a long time. It's been a long time on the graveyard, baby. It's kind of, not the 50th episode, too, because there's so many lost episodes, but it is what it is. This will be the number 50 official on YouTube. So I'm looking forward to that. I still don't know what I'm going to discuss yet. I'm not sure. I was thinking of doing the Predator films at some point, but not for the 50th episode. I think I should just stick to the formula probably for that episode, but I will definitely let you all know when I know. I'll be thinking about it for sure. But I want to thank everybody again for joining. It was a fun show. Thank you, everybody. Totally seek these out. I know this one's going to be tough to find, so I know for sure that's the tough one to find. But this one, I got this for like $15, and man, I had a blast with this. So I highly recommend this one. This is a really, really fun double feature. Seek these ones out if you can. If you like these ones, let me know. If you hate these ones like Chaos, like me, let me know. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. And as always, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you all for joining. I am the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live and living Carler here with you on YouTube. Too sweet. Peace. And we'll catch you next time.